Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by telling you something heaven already knows about you. You were never created to simply be nice. You were created to be powerful, purposeful, and strategic. We have raised generations of women who believe that to be accepted, they must be soft, spoken, accommodating, always smiling, even when disrespected. Let me say this clearly. God did not create you to be a doormat in the name of being a daughter. When God created you, He did not make a mistake. He did not form you out of confusion or by accident. You were not thrown together with leftover pieces of creation. You were designed intentionally, purposefully, and divinely. The moment you begin to understand that truth, something in you will begin to shift. You will stop apologizing for your strength. You will stop minimizing your voice, and you will stop living to fit into systems that were never designed to hold the weight of your calling. The problem is many women have been taught to perform rather than understand, perform femininity, perform politeness, perform what society deems acceptable even if it costs them their identity, but God is not looking for performance. He is calling you to understanding. Understanding your design means seeing yourself through the lens of your Creator, not through the distorted mirror of culture. If you don't know the purpose of a thing, as I always say, abuse is inevitable. And that includes the abuse of your own self, worth, your own time, your own spirit. Let's go back to the beginning. In the book of Genesis, when God created woman, He didn't form her from the dust like He did with Adam. No, the Bible says He took her out of man specifically, from his side. That wasn't random, that was divine design. The side is the place of protection, proximity, and partnership. Not from the head to dominate, not from the feet to be dominated, but from the side, to stand beside. This tells us something powerful. Woman was never meant to be beneath. She was never meant to shrink herself for someone else to feel tall. Her strength is not a flaw, it is a feature of her divine purpose. God looked at Adam and said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." That word helper, in the original Hebrew, is ezer, and it's not a weak word, it's a military term. It means rescuer, warrior, ally. It's the same word used to describe God when He steps in to save His people. So hear me, when God called you helper, He wasn't calling you second class, He was calling you essential. And yet many women are trapped in this idea that to be a nice girl is their highest calling. They've been taught that their value comes from being agreeable, quiet, or easy to deal with. But the truth is, there is nothing anointed about being passive. There is no kingdom glory in pretending to be less than who God made you to be. You were designed with intention, which means you are not allowed to treat yourself as random. You are not allowed to give yourself away cheaply. You are not allowed to sit quietly in places where you are called to speak life and truth. Every part of your being, your voice, your mind, your spirit, your presence, is part of a greater plan. Your emotional intelligence is not weakness, it is discernment. Your sensitivity is not a liability, it is a radar for spiritual reality. Your nurturing nature is not for manipulation, it is for building legacy. But if you don't understand these things, you will be talked out of your greatness by people who do not understand your purpose. Let me be clear, humility is not the same as invisibility. You can be kind and still firm. You can be gentle and still powerful. Jesus Himself was full of grace and truth. He was not weak. He was not soft, spoken in the face of injustice. He was fierce with love, but bold with purpose, and so should you be. The enemy has been attacking the design of women since the garden. If he can confuse your identity, he can distort your destiny. If he can make you question your worth, he can keep you in cycles of relationships, careers, and environments that rob you of your inheritance. That's why it is dangerous not to understand who you are. Because when you don't know, anyone can name you, anyone can label you, anyone can reduce you, and you will accept it. Not because it's true, but because you haven't seen the truth of your own design. God created you to carry life, not just in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense. You carry ideas, you birth solutions, you nurture atmospheres. You were built to create, cultivate, and complete. There is a kingdom system locked inside your womanhood, and once you see that, you will stop being desperate for validation from men, applause from the crowd, or permission from culture. You are not just a woman. You are a system of heaven walking on earth, and when you understand your design, you'll stop entertaining roles that reduce you, words that belittle you, or relationships that dishonor you, because now you know you were made in the image of greatness. You were designed with eternal fingerprints, and you were never meant to settle for being nice. You were called to be necessary. You were made to be divine, and that, my sister, is your truth. You were not created to live for the applause of man. You were not put on this earth to be defined by the opinions of people who do not understand your value. Yet far too many women are living in the prison of needing to be liked, accepted, validated. They shift people, please, and overextend themselves just to receive what they already have from God: approval, love, and significance. When you seek validation from people, you hand them the power to define you. And when people can define you, they can confine you. The tragedy is, many women don't even realize how deeply rooted this need is. It starts early. Be the good girl. Don't raise your voice. Be polite. Don't be too loud. Don't be too ambitious. Don't challenge authority. And by the time you're a woman, you've learned that acceptance is survival, that approval is currency, that being liked is more important than being true. But the truth is, needing validation from others is a dangerous addiction, and like all addictions, it will rob you of peace, purpose, and identity. The world teaches women to tie their worth to how they are perceived. That's why so many live in fear of being called too much, too emotional, too ambitious, too opinionated, too spiritual. But the problem isn't that you're too much. The problem is that they're too small to handle what God placed in you. And if you keep shrinking to fit their expectations, you'll never grow into God's design. You must understand that you were already validated before you were born. When God formed you in your mother's womb, He said, "This is good." Before you earned a degree, before you got married, before you succeeded or failed, God stamped you with approval. You don't have to prove your value. You have to walk in it. But walking in it means letting go of the need for constant reassurance from others. It means realizing that not everyone will celebrate you, and that's okay. Jesus himself was not accepted in his hometown. The Son of God was rejected, misunderstood, even hated. And if Jesus wasn't liked by everyone, what makes you think you will be? Living for validation will keep you on a stage performing friendship, performing joy, performing confidence. You'll look the part, but inside you'll be exhausted, because pretending costs energy. And here's the truth: what you attract by performance, you will have to maintain by performance. That means you can never truly rest, because the moment you stop being who they want, you fear they'll leave. But if someone only loves the mask, they were never meant to know the real you. Some of the most powerful decisions you will ever make are quiet, internal choices to detach from the need for approval. You will realize that being misunderstood is not failure, being disliked is not punishment, and being alone is not a curse when you're aligned with God. Validation is not a necessity, it's a distraction. It pulls you away from purpose and pushes you into popularity contests that don't matter in eternity. Here's something we must settle in our spirit: man's validation can never sustain you. It's temporary. It's inconsistent. The same crowd that shouts Hosanna will shout crucify him. The next day, people change, emotions change, but the word of God is unchanging. And when you root your identity in his truth, not their opinions, you become unshakable. Stop checking your worth through the lens of others. Stop waiting on compliments to feel beautiful. Stop needing approval to feel valuable. What God says about you must become your foundation. He calls you chosen, royal, anointed, loved. He calls you his own, and the moment that becomes enough, freedom begins. Letting go of validation doesn't mean becoming bitter or cold. It means becoming free. It means you can love people without being enslaved to their opinions. It means you can serve from a full heart, not a needy one. It means you can walk into a room without wondering who approves of you, because the King of Kings already does. There's a powerful peace that comes when you no longer need to convince people of your worth. You're not trying to fit in. You're not striving to be accepted. You are simply being who God created you to be, unapologetically, authentically, powerfully, and the right people, those who are assigned to your purpose, will recognize you without needing you to audition. Think of all the time and energy that's been wasted trying to impress people who aren't even watching. Trying to gain applause from people who are clapping for your performance, not your purpose. But when you decide to stop seeking validation, you get your time back. You get your voice back. You get your soul back. You were not created to be a mirror for the world to reflect its insecurities. You were created to be a reflection of God's glory. You don't need likes, followers, or comments to be confident. You need alignment with the one who called you, formed you, and placed you on this earth for such a time as this. So walk away from the need to be liked. Walk toward the call to be light, because light doesn't ask for permission to shine. It just does. You are the light of the world, and no amount of human approval can increase or decrease the brightness of what God has placed inside you. Your validation doesn't come from people. It comes from purpose. And your purpose is secure, not because they said so, but because He did, and that is more than enough. One of the most powerful things a woman can do in this life is protect her standards. In a world that constantly pressures you to compromise, bend, and shrink to fit into what is convenient or comfortable for others, holding on to your standards is not just a form of discipline, it's a declaration of worth. It's a statement to the world and to yourself that you know what you carry, you know what you deserve, and you know what you're not willing to tolerate. Standards are not just preferences, they are boundaries set by conviction. They are rooted in the awareness of who you are and who you represent. When a woman understands her value, she no longer negotiates her standards for temporary attention, false security, or shallow affection. She no longer feels obligated to say yes just to be liked. She no longer keeps toxic people around just to avoid loneliness. She knows that peace with herself is better than proximity with people who don't respect her. Too many women have been conditioned to believe that having standards is being too picky, that having boundaries makes you difficult, that expecting respect makes you prideful, but the truth is, having standards is a reflection of your spiritual intelligence. It means you've come to a place in your life where you refuse to let others write your narrative. You are not a product for public consumption. You are a vessel for kingdom impact, and not everyone deserves access to that. The problem is, when you don't protect your standards, you invite disrespect. People treat you according to what you allow. They learn how far they can go by what you permit. And every time you lower your standards to accommodate someone's immaturity, you send a message: this is all I believe I'm worth. But you are not here to entertain behavior that offends your dignity. You are not here to babysit brokenness, hoping it turns into love. Your time, your energy, your love, it's all too valuable to be spent on people who have no intention of honoring it. Let's be clear. Protecting your standards doesn't mean walking in pride or arrogance. It means walking in clarity. It means knowing that just because you have grace doesn't mean you have to tolerate foolishness. Jesus himself had standards. He loved everyone, but he didn't allow everyone in his inner circle. He healed multitudes, but he only chose 12, and even among the 12, he had 3 who were closest. Why? Because even the Son of God understood the power of selective access. Some of you are drained not because you're doing too much, but because you're giving too much to the wrong people. You keep watering dead plants, hoping they'll grow. You keep investing in people who show no signs of change, and the more you give, the more they take, leaving you empty, bitter, and confused. But the truth is, they're not the problem. Your lack of standards is. When you decide to protect your standards, you stop blaming people for crossing lines you never enforced. A standard is not a wall to keep people out. It's a gate to decide who comes in. And you must guard that gate with wisdom. Not everyone deserves access to your peace. Not everyone should be allowed to influence your emotions. Not every invitation is from God. Some doors lead to delay, distraction, and destruction. But if you don't have standards, you won't recognize the difference between opportunity and a trap. There will come a time when protecting your standards will cost you. You may lose friends. You may walk away from relationships. You may say no to things that look good but don't align with your values. And yes, it will hurt. But compromising who you are just to keep what God is trying to remove will cost you far more. Peace is expensive, but it's cheaper than regret. And clarity is more valuable than temporary companionship. Don't confuse loneliness with lack. Sometimes God separates you to protect what He's building in you. He will prune your relationships so your roots can go deeper. But in those seasons, the enemy will whisper lies. He'll tell you your standards are too high, that no one will ever meet them, that you should settle for what's available. But remember this, the enemy always attacks what has value. And the fact that you feel the pressure to lower your standards means you're guarding something worth protecting. It takes strength to say no when everyone else says yes. It takes courage to walk away when others beg you to stay. It takes faith to trust that God will bring people into your life who meet your standards, because they've been through the same fire you have. You don't have to beg for what is yours by purpose. You don't have to chase what God has already assigned. But you do have to protect your space, your soul, and your standards until the right things arrive. Don't lower your standards to keep someone who doesn't see your value. Don't bend just to be accepted by people who reject your growth. The right people won't be intimidated by your standards. They'll be inspired by them. They'll rise to meet you because they recognize the same spirit in you that's working in them. You are not hard to love. You're just no longer easy to manipulate. You are not difficult. You're just clear. You are not cold. You're just finally walking in self-respect. And when you choose to protect your standards, you step into alignment with heaven. You stop asking for crumbs and start preparing for the feast God has for you. You are royalty. You are sacred. And sacred things are not treated casually. So protect your standards like your future depends on it, because it does. You were never created to live your life in response to the expectations of others. You were not put on this earth to make everyone else comfortable while you suffocate in silence. You were not designed to wake up each day wondering who needs you to adjust, conform, or perform so they can be satisfied. That's not purpose. That's bondage. And when you live your life constantly trying to please people, you slowly lose the clarity of your calling. You trade vision for validation. You surrender purpose for peacekeeping. But peace that costs you your identity is not peace at all. It's captivity in disguise. There comes a time in your journey where you must choose. Will you lead with purpose or live to please? One of those paths leads to fulfillment, the other to frustration. One connects you to destiny, the other drains your spirit. Leading with purpose means you are grounded in why you're here. You wake up with clarity, not confusion. You walk with intention, not insecurity. You speak with conviction, not caution. But none of that is possible if your soul is tangled in the need for approval. Pleasing others often disguises itself as love. It looks like kindness, but it's really fear. Fear of rejection, fear of disappointing someone, fear of conflict, fear of being misunderstood. But real love, true love, is grounded in truth. You cannot love people well if you're constantly betraying yourself to make them happy. You cannot serve from an empty well. You cannot lead others if you can't even lead yourself. And when you're living to please, you are no longer leading. You are being led by the demands and moods of others. Purpose doesn't beg. Purpose doesn't compromise core values to maintain temporary relationships. Purpose doesn't silence its voice just to keep the room calm. When you lead with purpose, you become comfortable with not being liked by everyone. That's maturity, that's growth, that's power. Jesus didn't come to please, he came to fulfill. He didn't change his message because the Pharisees were offended. He didn't compromise his mission to win public favor. He lived on assignment, and because of that, He walked in unstoppable authority. Many women are tired, not because they're working too hard, but because they're living to be accepted. They're exhausted from trying to manage everyone's expectations, constantly giving, constantly adjusting, constantly saying yes when their soul is screaming no. And that exhaustion is not from doing the will of God, it's from abandoning it. Because the will of God doesn't drain you, it fuels you. The will of God may stretch you, but it won't suffocate you. And when you lead with purpose, even the battles feel different, because you know what you're fighting for. You have to give yourself permission to disappoint some people in order to stay aligned with your assignment. Everyone won't understand your decisions. Everyone won't applaud your growth. Everyone won't agree with your boundaries. And that's okay, because your purpose was not given to a committee. It was placed in you by God. He did not consult your critics when he called you. He did not check the opinions of others before he anointed you. So why do you need their permission to walk in what he already approved? People, pleasing is one of the most deceptive enemies of purpose. It looks like humility, but it's actually a form of control. It's a way of trying to manage how people see you. It's rooted in the fear of man, not the fear of God. And the Bible is clear. The fear of man is a snare. It traps you. It keeps you small. It paralyzes you from making bold moves. But when you break that snare, when you care more about purpose than perception, you become dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. To lead with purpose means to live with clarity. It means asking yourself in every season, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? What is driving this decision? Conviction or pressure? Is this coming from purpose or performance? Those questions will keep you anchored when the storms of people's opinions come. They will remind you that your life has meaning beyond applause, likes, or titles. Purpose is not passive. It's not soft. It's not afraid of tension. Leading with purpose means sometimes saying no to good things so you can say yes to the right things. It means walking away from things that once made you feel important so you can pursue what makes you impactful. It means standing alone sometimes, but standing strong because you know God is with you. And here's the beautiful part. When you lead with purpose, the right people begin to recognize you. You don't have to force relationships, opportunities, or respect. Purpose draws the right connections. When you walk in authenticity, you become a magnet for alignment. The people who are called to your life will not be confused by your boundaries or offended by your strength. They will honor it. They will value your purpose because they're walking in theirs too. So stop watering yourself down. Stop editing your voice. Stop playing small to keep the peace. God did not give you a spirit of fear. He gave you power, love, and a sound mind. You were created to lead, not just in positions of authority, but in how you live your life. With clarity, with conviction, with courage, lead with purpose and let the pleasing go. You don't owe anyone an apology for obeying God. You don't owe anyone your silence just to keep their comfort. You owe yourself the truth, and you owe God your yes, not a convenient yes, not a popular yes, a bold, unwavering, unshakable yes, because purpose is not about being liked, it's about being lit by heaven. And when you walk in that light, nothing can stop you. So today, I say to you, stop being the nice girl. Start being the woman of kingdom character, conviction, and clarity. You are not here to decorate life. You are here to dominate in love, in purpose, and in truth. Don't live to be liked. Live to be remembered in heaven, because when you die, God won't ask if you were nice. He'll ask if you were faithful.